Coming up, children over 5 are now getting their first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Find out how some parents are jumping at the opportunity to get their kids vaccinated. Later, the upcoming expansion of a local animal shelter and the ways Athens Pride will be celebrated with events throughout the upcoming week. All this and more coming up on Grady Newsource.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College at the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
Good evening, I'm Savannah Ware. Thank you for joining me for Grady Newsource. Pfizer's vaccine for children ages 5 to 11 is now being offered in some Northeast Georgia pharmacies. Places like CVS, Walgreens, and Publix, as well as local pediatricians, started giving the shot over the weekend after Pfizer received approval from the Food and Drug Administration. Grady Newsource reporter Emma Robinson spoke with one Oconee County mother to learn more about her decision to get her daughter vaccinated.
What was your experience like getting a vaccination appointment for your child this weekend?
I had my 6-year-old vaccinated on Saturday at their pediatrician's office. Yeah, they actually started scheduling about 2 weeks ago. And so I suppose they were anticipating having the vaccine in hand. So they started scheduling for weekend. So I jumped on it immediately.
And why did you decide to get your daughter vaccinated so soon?
Being in an area where there are not a lot of COVID protocols, really made that decision easy because my child goes to a school where there's no masking. And, it's really about protecting her health and the health of others.
And what was your daughter's emotional response to getting the shot?
I think she'll be excited when I tell her she can finally take the mask off. She's one of the only kids in her class that is still wearing a mask. So.
And finally, what other reactions have you seen in your community in regards to this new pediatric vaccine?
People have hesitation as far as, things not being tested for longer periods and, what the side effects would be and, not knowing, how this will affect things long term. But, the benefits definitely outweigh the risks for me at this point.
Pfizer's pediatric vaccine is given in 2 doses, and Izzo says she will take her daughter for her second shot in 3 weeks. To learn more about the vaccine and its approval, visit the FDA's website. The Athens-Clarke County Commission recently agreed to extend the local state of emergency. Grady Newsource reporter Ballard Akaway joins us live from City Hall with an update. Hey Ballard, what can we expect from this continuation?
Hi Savannah, I'm here outside City Hall in downtown Athens, where the Athens-Clarke County Commission voted on November 2nd to extend the local state of emergency ordinance. Now, the first ordinance was put in place on March 16th of 2020, making this most recent vote the 23rd time the Commission has decided to extend the ordinance.
The recent local state of emergency motion passed unanimously in Commission this past Tuesday. The continuation of the ordinance includes outdoor seating at restaurants, mask mandates in government buildings, and social distancing encouragements inside buildings. District 5 Commissioner Tim Denson says the state of emergency is an effort to continue to mitigate the spread of the virus as well as provide relief to local hospitals.
There's definitely a great need for us to still be in an emergency situation right now and to have some of the powers that go along with that. So that we can be supporting our hospitals, which are trying to ensure treatment and care for those who have this.
This specific ordinance will last until December 8th, where the Commission will then vote again on whether to continue the local state of emergency.
Now, I also asked Commissioner Denson if he sees an end to the local state of emergency ordinance anytime soon, and he said not until the community comes together to bring the rising COVID-19 cases back down to a consistently low level. Back to you, Savannah.
The $1 trillion infrastructure bill is on its way to President Biden's desk to be signed into law. Currently, Georgia has a C+ grade on its infrastructure report card. Infrastructure is more than just highways and bus services. It includes anything needed for the everyday operation of society. Investment into infrastructure is needed in Georgia. There are 374 bridges and approximately 2,300 miles of highway in poor condition. 10% of Georgians live without broadband access. The Oglethorpe County Board of Commissioners voted to approve new district boundaries. Grady Newsource reporter Nikki Schatz tells us what you need to know about the changes.
The Oglethorpe County Board of Commissioners approved their new district boundaries, distributing the population more evenly between districts. Historically, District 2 has been the largest acre-wise, but District 1 is catching up. Oglethorpe County Board of Commissioners Chairman Jay Paul explains why these changes were made.
And this one, I guess, put together 10 years or so ago. But the new map eliminates some of these unorthodox things. It's much more uniform, so we're all satisfied with it.
Every 10 years, authorities adjust district boundaries according to population changes from the census. Oglethorpe County resident Luis Vasquez explains why he thinks the new district boundaries benefit the community.
I think it's good that they redistricted it just because I think now there's more equal representation throughout the community, so it'll be better for Oglethorpe County.
The new population distribution has about 3,000 people per district. One of the largest changes, Lexington moving from District 5 to District 2. Reporting for Grady Newsource, I'm Nikki Schatz.
Construction on Lexington Road is underway. Grady Newsource reporter Kayla Robertson has an update on the project.
I am here at the intersection of Barnett Shoals and Lexington Road, where the Georgia Department of Transportation is currently in the beginning phases of building a northbound ramp onto State Route 10, also called the Loop. Many people use this road on their daily commutes, and they have a lot to say about the current conditions of the road.
It's awful. I hate it's awful around 3 to 5. It's the worst traffic in the world.
Now I avoid it at all costs. With construction and different things like that, the traffic's just too backed up, and it really adds unnecessary amounts of time for my commute each day.
The intersection here on Lexington is currently a 3-lane road with a left turn lane onto the northbound loop. After construction is completed, it will be a 6-lane road with a right turn onto the loop. The Georgia Department of Transportation says to expect normal delays in traffic as well as detours once construction gets fully underway, but there are rules in place to make sure that traffic isn't disrupted during the busiest times of the day.
There's rules around it, and it's built into the contract. So depending on the project, what they'll say is, okay, during school season, you can't do work between this time and this time because it impacts school buses and parents trying to get their kids to school, and the traffic's already bad.
Construction is already underway, and the project is planned to be completed by 2025. This is Kayla Robertson for Grady Newsource.
The Athens-Clarke County Commission has approved the extension of free parking in its downtown parking decks for the holiday season. Grady Newsource reporter Ballard Acaway has more on how this affects your shopping plans this winter.
The Athens-Clarke County Commission has recently approved the extension of free parking in the Washington Street and College Avenue parking decks in response to the current restoration project underway downtown. Director of Central Services for Athens-Clarke County, Andrew Saunders, says the proposal is to encourage holiday shopping at local Athens businesses.
Idea behind that is to provide incentives for customers to come downtown and spend their money with businesses in the Athens area.
The current grace period for downtown Athens parking decks is 30 minutes. However, the new extension lengthens the reprieve to 2 hours starting November 22nd until December 24th. Local business owner Scott Tao says the downtown construction has affected his business, but he understands the importance of the project.
Having the entire sidewalk destroyed is not ideal, but it has to be done.
Tao says he believes this new proposal will help promote businesses downtown this holiday.
But I think an incentive to park and stay a little bit longer will only be good for business, and maybe encourage people to find the parking deck.
Visitors to downtown Athens will be able to take advantage of this 2-hour extension beginning November 22nd. For Grady Newsource, I'm Ballard Acaway.
After the break, Grady Newsource reporter Tyler Johnson looks into recent shootings involving an officer on duty in Jackson County.
Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
I'm gonna need that back.
No.
Kevin!
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woo-hoo. Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
The GBI is investigating a shooting that took place in Jackson County on Friday. Grady Newsource reporter Tyler Johnson tells us why the GBI is getting involved.
A 43-year-old woman died and a Jackson County deputy was critically injured after officers responded to a 911 call about a domestic incident to get a non-resident out of the home. Police say when deputies arrived at the scene, the woman opened fire on the deputies after being asked to drop her weapon. She shot a deputy, and the other deputy returned fire and killed the woman. I spoke with the GBI about why the Jackson County Sheriff requested for them to get involved, and they say
the GBI by state law is a request-only agency. So one of the deputies does return fire and shoots back. That's what the shot that ended up killing her. And that's the information that we have so far and that we know. And at this particular point, I mean, it's still a couple of days in, so it's still pretty early in the case. But once the GBI completes an investigation, then we provide that full case file to the district attorney's office, and then they will determine the next steps.
Sheriff Janice Magnum says the deputy is still in critical condition at the local trauma center in Jackson County. The sheriff also started a benefit fund for the deputy at the Northeast Georgia Bank in Jefferson, Georgia. The donations are greatly appreciated, she says. I will be following the story closely for any developing details. This is Tyler Johnson for Grady Newsource.
Animal Services in Jackson County have plans for a major expansion project. Grady Newsource reporter Riley Armont went into the community to see what people think.
Jackson County recently received an award that will allow the animal shelter to further accommodate rescued pets. Brad Richards, the director of Animal Control Services, is excited because
we've been in this building now 5 years, and in 5 years we already outgrew it. We had animal.
Richards says that since things started to open back up, the amount of surrendered pets has increased.
It is a need, and they have, since the COVID, everybody sort of opened back up, there has been more animals that we have been taken in. Yes.
The award was approved at the October 4th Commission meeting. Phase 1 will include a new lobby and an entertainment room for cats. Phase 2 will be the addition of kennels for both cats and dogs. Roxanne Campbell, Jackson County resident and long-term associate with Animal Services, says that this has been something she has been waiting on since moving to Jackson County.
Very exciting because the expansion is going to allow, for better housing for the kitties, intake areas, and I'm hoping that it'll mean more involvement of the community.
These are only some of the improvements Roxanne hopes to see from the expansion. Some other things she's hoping for are a better atmosphere and
cat housing really needs to be soundproofed off from the dogs as best as possible. And there needs to be a place in the cat room for volunteers.
Since working with Animal Services in Jackson County, Roxanne has fostered over 300 animals with a team. She looks forward to more feline-friendly additions and a more community-involved experience. For Grady Newsource, I'm Riley Armont.
Get ready for a month of singing, dancing, and acting performances spread all over UGA's campus. Grady Newsource reporter Allison Queso has more on what you can expect during the Spotlight on the Arts.
Celebration of visual, literary, creative work.
Spotlight on the Arts is a month-long celebration of over 60 events showcasing all art forms throughout Athens. Last week kicked off the festivities with Student Spotlight on the Arts. Carolyn Payton, communications specialist at the University of Georgia's Provost Office, says the event is a great way to spread awareness about the arts.
Is to get people aware of what's going on in the arts.
Singing, dancing, and acting groups performed from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. as people walked by and soaked in the festivities. Caitlin Leonard says the arts have played an important role in her life.
To experience different types of things. I played flute back in high school. It's just super important to me. It's really given me a lot of solace in some hard times.
Highlighted events are the University Theater production of Rent from November 4th through 14th at the Fine Arts Stage, and 2 Grammy-winning performances from Ranky Tanky and Dom Flemons on November 16th at the Performing Arts Center. MFA theater student Meg Gray says the arts are vital to society and people should come out and join the community.
It's a vital resource for any university, community, or person. The arts are just special, needed, and necessary, and fun.
Events are free or discounted for students, and for a full list of events, you can go to arts.uga.edu/calendar. I'm here at the Hugh Hodgins School of Music at the Performing Arts Center, where tomorrow faculty collaborator Damian Denton will perform a piano concert at 7:30 p.m. in continuation of Spotlight on the Arts. For Grady Newsource, I'm Allison Costa.
This is the final week of the 26th UN Climate Change Conference, otherwise known as COP26. Countries are coming together to discuss how they can limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. Today's theme is adaptation, loss, and damage. Experts at the conference talked about the effects of disruptful climate in smaller countries and their impacts on economies around the world. One of the primary goals for today is to implement more adaptation finance to avoid even more loss of life and natural habitats by increasing the money that is available to support adaptation. Tomorrow, the conference will be discussing advancing gender equality in climate action. Coming up, we track the upcoming chance of rain and break down your 5-day weather forecast.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man, let's split a ride home.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
And now, the weather.
Good evening. I'm Megan Middlehammer with your Northeast Georgia weather update. Today we had sunny skies and a high of 73 degrees, and we finished tonight with a low of 43 degrees and also clear skies. Looking ahead this week, you'll definitely need a jacket as the sun goes down, but take advantage of the warm temperatures during the day. On Tuesday, we'll see sunny skies with a high of 76. Clouds will move in at night, and on Wednesday there will be a low of 51 degrees. There's a 50% chance of rain on Thursday and a 60% chance on Friday, so don't forget that umbrella, and make sure to have an indoor option for your Veterans Day plans. Temperatures will drop on Saturday after that rain, with a high at 57 and a low of 36. If you haven't set your clocks back, now is the time to do it. During this time, seasonal depression, also known as seasonal affective disorder, can be common.
You can talk with your doctor about trying light therapy or vitamin D supplements to improve your mood. That's your look at the weather. I'm Megan Middlehammer.
Up next, Wyman Bailey tells us about the upcoming University of Georgia versus University of Tennessee football game. He also has the info on how the Braves celebrated their World Series win.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Hello, I'm Wyman Bailey, and here's... During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd, and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
And now, sports.
Hello, I'm Wyman Bailey, and here's a look at sports for this week. This weekend, Georgia will have one of their first real tests when they go to Knoxville, Tennessee to play the Volunteers, who have had a very good offense and are also 5-4 on the year. Georgia played Missouri at home and won in considerable fashion this past weekend as they put up 43 points to 6 points scored by Missouri. James Cook and Zamir Wyeth both had touchdowns, while Stetson Bennett also aired out the ball for 2 long touchdowns, scored by Arian Smith and Jermaine Burton. Georgia's defense still remained stellar in this game as they had a blocked punt returned for a safety in the first half. This is what Kirby Smart had to say about the upcoming match.
It's on Tennessee, playing in a really tough environment, one of the toughest places to play in the country. Their fan base is bought in, all in on Coach Heupel and his staff. It will be a tremendous atmosphere.
In other news, the Atlanta Braves held their first World Series parade this past Friday, which started on Marietta Street and ended at Truist Park. Many players gave speeches to the fans, as well as 300,000 to 400,000 people attended. They celebrated their first World Series win in 26 years, and many players and fans are relieved. I'm Wyman Bailey from Grady Newsource with your sports.
Up next, Grady Newsource reporter Michelle Ortiz explores Athens pride and the events planned to celebrate the week.
Touchdown! Oh, did you see that? Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No, I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that? I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
I'm gonna need that back.
No.
Kevin!
Oconee County is asking for people to volunteer for tomorrow's invasive species plant removal at Heritage Park. Pride festivities return this week after last year's COVID cancellation. Grady Newsource reporter Michelle Ortiz has a preview of this year's celebrations.
Cameron J. Harrelson serves as the vice president for Athens Pride. After last year's cancellation, Harrelson is helping bring back the organization's week-long festivities.
That sense of community that's really vital to our success as a people was really eliminated by the pandemic. And so now I'm really excited to see us come back together as one.
Athens Pride kicks off its festivities tonight. Among the events planned this week are a pageant, trivia night, karaoke, and Harrelson's personal favorite, queer prom.
I never came out until I came to Athens and was in college. So that experience of prom for me initially was not the memory that I necessarily wanted. And
Harrelson says this queer prom allows others to experience the prom as their most authentic selves.
Why it is so important is because creating family and friendly events is just a community coming together with other people that accept you and normalizing it.
Reporting for Grady Newsource, I'm Michelle Ortiz.
Oconee County is asking people to volunteer for tomorrow's invasive species plant removal at Heritage Park. Autumn olive is a plant that has taken over the area. Andy Dunstan with Oconee County Parks and Recreation said it has been an issue for the past few years because the plant is incredibly invasive and none of the native animals will eat it.
There's so much. This is our third year working on it, and we've barely started to make a dent in it. I mean, there's just so much of it.
Volunteers will walk about a mile and a half into the woods. They will cut down the autumn olive and treat the stumps with dyed Roundup. Thank you for watching News Source. I'm Savannah Ware. Have a great evening.
Mass communication at the University of Georgia, which is solely responsible for its contents. Views expressed do not represent those of the administration nor the Board of Regents at the University System of Georgia.
The new U.S.
I think we're on. We should be.
But yeah, great job once again. Mondays, I know we've had a couple of rough shows the past couple Mondays, but today it went pretty smoothly. On our side, we had a couple of issues with the TriCaster. We had some issues with the mouse, but they were minor. I think it's just because we had so much stuff in there. She ran out of blank space to click. And then we were supposed to throw up a lower third in that last thing before the good night, but it was not in there for some reason. I don't know what happened with the script or not, but other than that, great job, guys. Let's do it again Wednesday. Professor V?
I will pass it on to Shaylin. So Shaylin told me that she actually likes producing. I don't know to make me happy or whatever. I think, your strength is definitely reporting, but it's always good, if you know how to produce, you always have job security. And you'll be a better anchor, a better reporter, because you know the other side. And can you tell us what you learned from today? I mean, this is the first time, right? Yeah. So what is the wisdom, the advice, the things that you learned today that you would like to pass on to the next producer, the others who've produced? Just one.
Yeah, one of the
veterans.
One of the best things for today was having packages already ready. This morning we had a couple of packages like from Ballard and Sam, and I know a couple of you had packages, and I already had those exact times starting in the morning, so that was like a really solid foundation to start off with instead of having no idea what was gonna be for sure for the show. So that was really nice. Everyone did a really good job for the most part of sending me their run times as soon as they knew them. It did get tricky. Like there was one, I found out that a time was different when we were already like in the C block for something in the E block. So, I mean, things like that make it difficult, but I mean, that is how it is. What else? Yeah, everyone did a really good job communicating, what was in their packages and stuff. The earlier, the better that you get everything in the rundown, even just in terms of like, it really helped to have everyone's stuff in the rundown already, even before their packages were done, so that I could look and see what the script said, so that I could write other teases that you guys weren't necessarily writing to different blocks. So, yeah, anything else you can think of?
Well, you and I strategized what to tell the anchor if the live shot failed, because we had some technical difficulties, and even if things look perfect, live shots fail, and they fail you. That's why I pushed you to think about, so what would you do, if, for example, the anchor was already reading we happened live air, you're already reading the lead, and you're just about to say, Grady Newsource reporter Ballard was live. So what are you going to tell the anchor, and what should the anchor understand from what you're going to tell her? And you came up, share with us, I think this is really important since we haven't done that many live shows. This is really important for you guys, stuck in the back of your brain. When you're out there in the real world, you're an anchor, and the live shot, you're already committed, right? You started reading that lead. So what do? So
yeah.
Tell us how you...
So I talked to Savannah right before the show about, just in case Ballard's live shot weren't to work, he did have an awesome donut that was already set up. So I kind of told her, okay, you see in the script how it says you're going to throw to Ballard. Instead of saying that like end part that says now to Ballard live outside Athens City Hall, you would say, oh, and Ballard has more on this, and then we could still throw it to the donut. So even though that wasn't actually in the script, preparing her for that so that she wasn't like flustered and trying to listen to me at the same time, if it were to actually happen during the live show, she had a little bit of like something in the back of her head of like what she would do.
Exactly, yes. And I'm glad that I pushed for a live shot, and just had to do it. But I'm glad we did it because that was a relevant background. It was an interesting story. And
Ballard did awesome. He had 2 packages in the A block this show, so it came out really well.
Yeah, and so what was your initial plan, though, before I pushed you to come up? I created that scenario for her, and I said, okay, so what if the anchor is reading the lead? Because her first instinct was, okay, I'm just going to cut the whole thing out and have the anchor go to the infrastructure VO. And I said, well, what if the anchor is already committed, right? What do you do? And so that was one option we came up with. She communicated. I debated whether to ask her to tell her, so what happens if she hasn't committed and if you make another decision to sort of not play this at all, you would ask her to. And then I told her, no, we're going to confuse her, completely confuse her. So don't do that, but that's another option you have. But always the best option is if you have that donut to save it, but with this workaround. So that's something for you anchors to always have, in the back of your mind, because not always will a producer have been pushed by someone standing next to them, to think of these. You have to. It's really scary out there when you're on your own, you're sitting there, and the camera is on you. It's not on the producer. So you have to take care of yourself the best way you can. Usually producers are awesome. They will help you. But sometimes they're human too. They might not have a chance. Something is falling apart. She didn't know if Joe's package was going to get disrupted by that. She was getting messages, You never know. The producer might want to help you, but they don't have an opportunity. So what do you do if you're already committed and you're almost there and you've tossed to or what if you've already said that and the producer doesn't even tell you that you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and Ballard doesn't show up because Ballard is there, but and so this is the worst of worst case scenarios when the producer doesn't tell you what has happened. Then you can just take it upon yourself and say, we're having technical difficulties with Ballard's live shot. And then that is when I've talked to you, always have something that you can say. Now, Ballard was going to tell us about how their Athens-Clarke County Commission has extended the state of emergency, which means that people will continue to be a little bit, continue to be asked to wear masks indoors. Just have a little bit of background, especially on your live shots. I used to do that all the time, and I think this is beneficial. That's why I'm sharing with you how I would prepare in such a scenario where your live shot has failed and you're not getting good directions or you haven't heard the producers not making sense. You take care of yourself and you sort of, tell us a few things, and maybe while you're saying that, the producer has figured out what's going on, or Ballard's live shot, we fixed it. So then the producer tells you, oh, we have Ballard. So then you make a quick transition, finish your thought, and say, we were having some technical difficulties with Ballard, but now we have him back on. So Ballard, tell us what, or whatever. Does that make sense? As all sorts of worst-case scenarios, I hope they never happen, but honestly, they will. Once in a blue moon. So I wanted to share with you, these are different ways in which you can handle this. Always, when you have a live shot, have the next script, that's for sure, in front of you so that you can quickly go to that. Remember I showed you that blooper with the BBC guy? For how many minutes he was on camera, and he knew he was on camera, and he kept, just kind of looking like he didn't know he was on. Producer wasn't probably telling him anything, but you don't want to be that blooper, because people are watching this. I don't know how many views they had. You don't want to be viewed that way. So this is the way to kind of keep going if you're in the dark, to kind of come up with things based on fact, to say and to keep going, as much as you can. So that's my little wisdom and advice. But that was an important discussion and an important challenge that placed on Shaylin to think these things through. And so I just wanted to share that with you because I hope that it will be helpful. But again, I've promised not to speak too much. So let's hand the mic to our digital producer as at home because she's not feeling well. So we won't have her today. But let's go to Emma, who did our lead story. News gatherer did our lead story today. The newsiest story had her finger on the pulse of the news, and that was impressive. What did you learn today?
Yeah, so I was a news gatherer today. I learned, so initially, just trying to get, I guess, more sides of the story. I also wanted to talk to a pharmacy. But what I learned from my package last week when I was going into pharmacies, I had tried to get comments from CVS and Walgreens last week, and they said they weren't allowed to comment to the media. So I didn't even try there. I went into a few local independent pharmacies, and I told Shaylin the first one I went to, she was like, I have so many calls, everyone's coming in to get the vaccine, I cannot talk. And I was like, okay. So luckily I had that parent source reach out, which was really nice. If I could go back and change it, I definitely would have tried to, I guess, look ahead and maybe work on it earlier to try and make it a package and get more than one side. But I think the Q&A was good. She was really a great source to talk to and everything. So, yeah.
Tell us how you followed those. How were you able to come up with this, share with people, because I feel that's you in the real world to really know and understand what's newsworthy and to actually follow the news. How do you prepare? Like in the morning, what do you do? I've shared what I do, but mine is very different.
It actually really fell on
the way you guys do. You check social media, but I do it in a different way for my generation. But so share.
Well, with this story in particular, it honestly really fell on the fact that my beat is Oconee County Board of Education, so I'm looking into a lot of parent groups and everything. So just on Facebook, I had seen some parents posting about it over the weekend on places that were now offering it, as well as Social News Desk. Oconee County Schools actually posted something about how they were now administering the vaccine. So that's really where I got the idea. Because
so
it was
follow your
beat.
beat.
Yeah.
Follow your beat.
So that's, I guess, the advice I have.
Yes.
Follow your beat.
I guess it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's as simple as that. Okay. Well, thank you. For anything else you want to share with us?
No, I think that's it.
So, Ballard, you got the live shot. Do you want to say something that you learned today?
I guess it was nice. I already had a package made. That kind of helped me be flexible. I guess one thing I learned was get there early for sure.
Yeah.
Leave here at 4, and I think that was perfect timing. We got there at 4:30.
I'm glad you did that, and you learned from your previous one where you didn't have enough time.
Exactly.
So as long the way we learn and get better. Good to make mistakes when you don't learn from them, but the only way you can learn is by actually trying things out. Sometimes, they might not work out the way.
I thought this went a lot smoother than the last live shot I did. I was much more prepared, much more confident in my script. I guess one thing I need to work on is creating a more conversational script. I guess the way I write is a little bit more formal writing as opposed to script writing, and that kind of tripped me up on my words there at the end. So that's something I definitely need to work on. That would just help with confidence. But
yeah, I challenged you, but you didn't change that. Did you really need to tell us that it was? I just thought, tell us when the first, it was a little convoluted. Your first sentence should have been your clearest one, your simplest one. It was like the stories, and you started with sort of background, and I tried to kind of move you away from it, but, do you really need that much detail in that first sentence? 26, I mean,
I guess
the 26th is March, you know, this is good for print. But when you have people who are just listening to you and watching you, unless there's a visual for them to focus on, this kind of is a little bit too much for them to comprehend. So that's trying to ask you to kind of simplify and see what are the numbers you need, maybe just one number per sentence, right? And whether it's the 26th or the 24th time the emergency order has been continued, I don't think was as newsworthy as for you to say when it started, that it was March. And I think that was more than enough. People will know it's been a long time, and they keep renewing it. I think that was, so think of sentence, one newsworthy thing, one fact and one figure up what you're trying to say, and you'll be fine. This is good for print, I agree with you, but that's challenged you. But I don't want to exactly tell you what to do. And if you're not making a mistake, factual mistake, I let it go because I see you're more comfortable saying it that way. But so.
Yeah, I guess my writing background is mainly print, so it's something
Yeah.
I've never tried to pick.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. Yeah, it takes practice.
So but that was probably one thing I really need to work on. Also, just being more confident. I think I kind of messed up at the end of my first half. I used extended instead of something else I said in there. I'd already said in the first sentence, so definitely that. But overall, I think it went pretty well. I mean, I didn't get to see it, so I don't know how it looked on.
So your advice would be to get there early, and I think that is great. That is great advice.
Get there as early as you possibly can. Definitely get there as early as possibly you can. So you give the tech people enough time to set the camera up and everything. You don't want to be rushing them. You want to make sure all the tech works, and then that gives you time to read through your script, practice your script, become more confident in it. So overall, I think it went well, but there's definitely things to work on.
And the thing is, you know, when you're to be more conversational and broadcasty, think of, you know, if you're talking to your mom or to your friend, how would you tell them? Would you really tell them this is the 26th time? And, you know, it could be newsworthy if this is never, I don't know, it didn't sound newsworthy to me as much as when it started.
Yeah, numbers are tough to keep in your head.
Yeah, and the date and when it started kind of implies that it's been a long time. And so that would be my advice. Just think of what would you spare your mother, you know, telling her about this, and what kind of words would you use? So that would be my advice for all of you, because you're not the only one. That's why you're in this class, to learn broadcast style. And yeah, thank you. So, so who would like to? Who would like to? The people who had packages that, or whatever you learned, you did a bunch of VO SOTs and whatnot, and it looked really strange, but you assured me it will be smooth, and it was. It was like, oh my goodness, it looks like a double live shot, you know, and it's just a VO SOT, but it worked. Because you communicated, to the point, because you communicated with Michael, and he said, I get it. You okay? Okay.
Yeah, also shout out to Sam if you have enough content.
Visual, yes,
well,
yes.
I don't know about that, but it was kind of fun today as a news gatherer working on only VOs and VO SOTs. So I was able to do 3. Only 1 ended up running, but that was to be expected. So I feel like that was something that former producers have said like they're looking for is more VOs and VO SOTs. So I thought that was fun, and it's totally manageable to do that as a news gatherer when you're not focusing on a package. So I think just like encouragement to other news gatherers in the future, and for myself also, that like that is definitely something that is super doable, and I think probably really helps the producer.
It is super helpful, super helpful.
Awesome. So yeah, it was fun. I liked it, and you know, I think I still had a pretty chill day because they are just easier than packages. So I enjoyed it. And I'm kind of happy with how it came together. The one thing I wish I'd done differently is with doing so many, I wasn't able to get any in-person interviews. So I used 2 audiograms. We only saw 1. But that would be the one thing that I'd change, is focusing more on in-person interviews.
One
One package that I had already done that got floated last week was used today, and it was the Lexington Road update. But this was the first day as a news gatherer that I actually had time to like really sit down and brainstorm ideas for next week. And so just being able to, I don't even know how many emails I sent today, probably like 15 or 20 to different
It takes a
people
lot,
just to,
yes.
get those contacts and reach
And
out
calls,
and like really
and
be
calls.
prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just,
Yeah.
if you ever have a day like I did today where you kind of have time to just sit back and like really think about what you want to do for the next week, just like getting in touch with people, and even if you don't end up interviewing all of them, just having them as contacts and being able to reach out to them in the future will be good.
Yeah, that's why we give you that time to actually, that's what you're supposed to do. And Kayla, I really liked your package, but I've told that to others as well. Don't do 2 stand-ups, especially when your last stand-up was just your name.
Right.
Unless you absolutely have to, and you've got this amazing information that you can't visualize, so you need the second stand-up, that's okay, but as an exception. But never do a stand-up just to say your name. It doesn't make you look, professional.
Okay.
But it was nice because you started it off with a again, that's a rule you should have to start with a story to break the rule, because you placed us on the road where your story is. So that was good. But that's rare to use a stand-up, in the beginning that kind of looks right. Usually either the bridge stand-up in the middle or at the end something looking ahead, a conclusion, something that has fact, and there's a reason for you to be standing there and to be talking. But for your package, I think you were right on, that was a good idea to start with the stand-up.
Right.
Which is the rare case in which it's okay to start with a stand-up. So that's the only thing for your sake and for everybody else's sake. If you don't have anything to say at the end, don't do a stand-up. If there's no reason, yeah.
I don't really know how I did yet. Honestly, I feel like I blacked out completely, so I'll watch it later
And please,
find out, I guess.
You and Riley, I wish I could talk half as fast. Sometimes Riley comes to me and it's like, Riley, I don't understand. You're talking English, but it's too fast. I can't. And she slows down, and then we communicate. And for you, I told Shaylin, and she was so tactful. This was awesome. The way she approached you, she said, you're doing great, because this could have, stressed you out. She said, down. And it happens to people like you and Riley, who are such amazing fast talkers, that when you get nervous or, on air, everybody gets nervous, you start talking faster. So that was why we asked you to slow down. And
I don't feel like I really did either. Yeah.
not just the viewers. Again, the comprehension is not as good when.
Kind of helping because we weren't going over.
Yes. Yeah. But Shaylin impressed me in the way she approached you, the way maybe because she is a reporter, she knows, and she's been on air, she's been an anchor, she knows how it feels to be there in that dentist chair, and so that was good thinking. Yeah, that was impressive.
And I really appreciate Shaylin's communication all day too, and everybody's, because even I didn't really realize how much went into being an anchor besides being on air. Just everyone's communication today was so helpful, especially Shaylin's and everyone's stuff.
Yeah.
The PTs, everyone got back to me.
Yeah, the more we communicate, the better things are. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I totally agree.
I did weather today, and one thing I think I did well was tying in something that happened in the past, which is daylight savings time, and like still making it relevant. And then one thing I could work on is maybe like checking out the capture that they do in tech before I download it, because once I downloaded it, I noticed it looked a little funny, like the color was kind of off. So I changed it a little bit in Premiere. Sam helped me with that.
but like making sure before I'm like ready to edit in Premiere that like everything looks good in case I need to run back and do it again.
And this was your best performance. You were having fun. Your graphics were interesting. You were actually interacting with them.
Yeah, I felt more comfortable at the board. Yeah.
It wasn't just like, okay, I have to look. I'm going to look now, even if I lose my place in the prompt. No, it was genuine.
Yeah.
It was natural. So can you share with people how you, since we talked about it this morning, how to interact genuinely with that smartboard, which can be your best friend. It can inspire.
First of all, like, make sure like you're at a good place, I guess, to like tap it, and then practice tapping it while you're not looking at it, and like make sure you can kind of see in your peripheral that it changes, because that's what helps me. And then know your script pretty well. Like I wrote mine this morning, but I went over it like once or twice, so I knew when to change the slide. And then I knew like I had 5 days worth of content, but as I went through each one, I could step in front of it because I had already covered it. So like the audience doesn't care about Tuesday when you're talking about Thursday. So I felt comfortable like reaching
Yes,
across.
that was a very nice. Yeah, I have to watch everything again, of course, but that was really
time.
good.
That was
I
my
will
third
watch
time
it a
with the
little. Yeah,
smartboard,
but
so it
that
takes
was your
time.
best. When I haven't looked at it.
And I was in MMJ today. One thing I did well was getting an interview with Nellie Miles at the GBI. I was really happy about that because she was so busy.
And getting your sources either as an audio or.
Yeah, and then that's one thing I need to work on is getting
because
like.
that would have really added heft to your package.
Yeah.
And maybe if you can't get the sheriff, get the police spokesperson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know,
the sheriff was just so busy that like I was just glad to even get.
So
that
do a
information.
workaround if because you do need 2 sources on camera, at least one of them audio.
Mm-hmm.
And it really adds to your package, and it gives you something solid to put on your portfolio also. But again, this was a package on an important story. But I'm just talking about how if you can't get someone on camera or on the phone, try a workaround. Try someone. Can I talk to someone else? If you're busy, is there somebody else you could point me to who could give me this information? That kind of workaround, just the suggestion.
Okay.
But it was a good story. It was a good, important.
One thing I think I did well this time finally was not having to do an audiogram and making sure I could actually get those interviews to be like on video. One thing I would like to work on in the future is making sure that video is in person. So once again, just planning ahead. So tried doing that today. So hopefully that works out for my next package.
And try to smile less and kind of look at the way you smiled. I think a little more like you were having fun, and the story I don't think was. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe less of a smile at the end. But that's the only little I'm nitpicking because it was well done. Yeah. But a little less smile, I think. Look at it again, and I have to watch it again, but that sort of struck me as something to let you know after I watched it again, though.
Yeah, so I did my spotlights on the art package from last week that ran this week, and that package was really fun to do.
I could tell.
Yeah. Thank you.
Music.
Yeah.
You really brought us in. Again, I have to look at it again.
Right.
But my initial thing was like, oh, this is visuals finally.
Thank you.
This is, yeah.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I think that kind of just was like happenstance. Like I was kind of just, that wasn't going to be what I thought about, wasn't what I was doing for last week. And then I just walked by at Tate and I was like, oh, this